Welcome back to the shop. We are going to rebuild the carburetors on this 1979 Honda CX500. You may have heard of a Honda GL500, which was the silver wing. Those usually came out fully dressed. You had a fairing, you had a top case, or a trunk as many call it. It was just a dressed bike. This is essentially the GL500 naked. There were some key differences. The suspension was different, but the engines for the most part were the same. The carburetor spacing was different on the GL500. They were closer together, so the intake manifolds are different on them. But this is a 90-degree V-twin, liquid cooled. You still have that V-twin shake, but not as bad. It does have a balance shaft in there. It's more noticeable on this V-twin though, because of how it's facing. This is a linear facing V-twin instead of a transverse. So instead of having a piston going this way and a piston going this way, where everything's rocking like this, everything on this is rocking like this. And you can feel it a little bit until you're in the higher RPMs, and then things kind of smooth out. But at low RPMs, you can feel it. You almost wonder, is there something wrong with the bike? It feels like my tires are walking all over the place. That's not what it is. It is literally the engine, just the pistons back and forth. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. It kind of freaked me out a little bit when I was riding. So what the heck is wrong with this thing? Nothing was wrong. Nature of the beast. This is a shaft drive. In the prior video, the review video on the Trail 125, we talked about my preference for shaft drive bikes. Now Honda, they put the final drive, and therefore the drive shaft, on the right side of the bike. So we have right here. We need to buff that off. That's just kind of welder splatter, because it has really, the design of this rack, we have too heavy of a top case for this, because he uses this to go to school, you know, and just for general transportation. I like to be able to carry stuff with me, and so I always have storage for the most part on my bikes. So we did that with this, but it's just too heavy. So we'll cut this out, and we're gonna sleeve this, and probably take a piece of angle iron and run it up and transfer that weight from the pivot point here to up here where it's stable. Because that's basically what's happening. It's going up and down, and it fatigues it and it cracks it. It never cracks on the weld, it cracks right in front of the weld. Go figure.
Yeah, the roads around our place are they're really bumpy, so it definitely doesn't help.
One of the highest tax states in the nation, one of the highest gas tax states in the nation. We pay one of the highest prices for gasoline in this nation.
At this point, it is the highest.
And
so,
yeah, and we have, I can't say they're the worst roads in the nation,
they're close to
but
it.
they're fighting. If they're not first, they're fighting for first. It's because, yeah, it's not friendly to cars or motorcycles. But, so that's what's happening there. Don't mind the chicken shit weld. I just splattered that on there so he can ride it without the top case for now. Although it's rapidly approaching a time where we won't be able to ride. It's a sad, sad day. I haven't been able to ride to work in almost a month now, because when I get up and then when I go to work, the roads are icy, and I don't do icy roads and motorcycles anymore. We'll talk about my younger years and motorcycles in another video. So, that being said, we're going to start tearing this down. We got to take the seat off. We got to take the gas tank off, and then we got to take our side covers off to open it up. So we are going to get to that, and then we'll get the carburetors off, get them over here on the workbench, and get them cleaned up and rebuilt, and then we'll get them back on there and then retune the thing. We'll probably hook it up to the synchronizer, make sure everything's still in sync. Anytime you pull a rack of carbs off and put them back on, you should at least check your synchronization. If you don't have the tools for that, or the know-how, we can go over the know-how. The tools, they can be had relatively inexpensive. Like I have a Motion Pro Sync Pro right here. It's an old style. It is not a mercury manometer, but it is a fluid fill. We'll go over calibrating this and then synchronizing the carburetors. Mercury's not a great substance to be fiddling with, which is why I don't even think, unless you find somebody that already has one that's selling it, in the US anyway, you cannot get a mercury manometer, which is what they used to use. Another thing they used to use for synchronizing the carburetors, it's very inaccurate and a major pain, is a very sensitive multiple gauge set. It's very sensitive. We're talking, these don't measure the inches in mercury. We're talking, it measures centimeters in mercury. Now, I'm not going to go through the, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to go through the metric variation of those measurements. You know, for the countries that use metric, more power to them. We use a lot of metric here these days too, but I grew up in a time where everything was imperial, SAE standard. And it's just kind of what I stick to. I can tell metric fasteners, but I'm not doing metric measurements. So everything I say on here, if somebody in the comments wants to convert it to metric, for the other countries that are doing metric, or you can convert it yourself. That's perfectly fine. But I'm going to use the measurement that makes the most sense to me. In all honesty, I'm just too lazy to learn the complete metric system. I really don't care. You can measure it in finger widths as long as it's accurate. Who cares? All right, so let's get the seat off. The thing I don't like about the CX500 is you have to unbolt it to get the seat off. So that is what we're going to do. Nice thing is, with the magic of money, you can have electric ratchets. So
it's going to be
a
10s.
14.
14. It's 10s and 12s to remove all the bolts, I thought.
The seat's 14.
Was it? I thought it was 12.
It might be a 12. You know what? Let's grab them both. 12 and a 14. And we're going to grab an extension for grins and giggles. Now you'll notice these tools you don't have to have a whole lot of money in tools. Tools are expensive, yes, but for the general person just doing their own thing at home, you're not working on stuff all the time, cheap tools, halfway decent cheap tools are fine. Icon, a lot of the tools we have here are Icon and Quinn. They're from Harbor Freight. We have some Pittsburgh Pro. I've got some Blue Point stuff here, which is sold by Snap-on, made by Snap-on as well, for the most part. Some of the stuff is not. But, if all you have is Harbor Freight tools, that'll do the business.
Harbor Freight has actually come a long way, so very good option.
Their Pittsburgh Pro line is decent. Their Icon line, which is Harbor Freight's competitor, for lack of a better term, to the tool truck brands. And they like to throw Snap on there a lot of the times. you know, they're decent tools. No complaints with them. I use tools every day, and 99% of my tools at work are Snap-on. I'm not buying Snap-on tools for home when, you know, the Icon, the Quinn, the Pittsburgh Pro, they do just fine. Now, some of my tools here are Snap-on. This is a Snap-on electric ratchet. You know, you don't have to spend $500-600 on this. You can go, and Milwaukee has theirs. I don't like the Milwaukee. They don't have the torque. They don't have the speed. But, you know, there's no shame in getting the Milwaukee. It's a whole lot easier, even still, than it is to use a manual ratchet when you have a lot of fasteners, or the fasteners are long-winded. A lot of fasteners are long-winded, and you'll be running a ratchet for a long time getting some of them out. Now, key to electric ratchets is their initial torque isn't there. And I don't care who makes the electric ratchet, it's not an impact. So what you do is you get it spinning and stick it on there. And that will give you the torque. Oh, those threads are fantastic.
Yeah, I know. I've had to put them on and take them off a couple times. One of these is also bent. I think, yeah, it's this one. It's kind of bent.
Okay. If it gets too bad to where it won't grab, we'll helicoil it. Alright, so now, let's get the seat off. Seat's in good shape for a 1979. This is original covering. Kind of like my Yamaha Maxim here. These are things you don't see that often. This is the original leather on this Yamaha Maxim. It's a 1982, so it's the same year I was born. So quick some math. So now everybody knows I'm 43. That's 43 years old. This seat, the pan, which is a nice metal pan. These rubbers.
Even the foam is alright.
The foam and the covering itself is 46 years old on this bike. Not bad. Good shape. This, we got this, it was a barn find. It really was. Story behind it was the owner who had it, he was working on it for a friend of his, and for some reason, I don't know why, it could be he just didn't want to work on it, I don't know. But it's very good. He's a very good friend of mine, and he knows his stuff when it comes to motorcycles. But he couldn't figure it out for some reason.
There was something with the carbs he just couldn't get.
Yeah, so, something like that. So it sat in his garage / workshop. And so he bought it off of the guy who he was working on it for, because he told him, it's like, you're going to put more money into it than what you want to spend. Well, he's a good friend of mine. Cameraman. We'll call him Jerry till we decide on a permanent name. Whether it be Lemon or Jerry, I haven't decided yet. Cameraman Jerry has a nice ring to it. He had just gotten his permit, and he was needing a bike where I forget. He had his permit. He was riding the Rebel 300. It transitioned him to the Marauder, which is by the sale, $2,500. Runs good. Needs O-rings for the intake boots. But that being said, back onto the topic. He transitioned to that to get used to a bigger bike. Well, then, he got to a point where I deemed it okay for him to get his own bike, and he fell in love with the CX500. And so we picked this thing up for a song, $600. And he rode it home. No, he didn't ride it home. They had it running. We trailered it home. It was only hitting on one cylinder, and it was all carburetor. So that being said, we've got it running. This is his daily rider. We just need to finish fixing the carburetors. I'm not sure where I was going with that.
I don't know. Within the month and a half I've had it, I've put over 2,000 miles on it. Oh, I'm not gonna take it over.
Hey, don't be breaking my shop. Okay, so now for those of you that are just getting into working on things, whether it be automotive, motorcycles, doesn't matter. When you have an extension, you lose torque. So when possible, don't use an extension. If you can get away with just having a deep well socket that kicks you out far enough, most of the time I'm using a deep well socket anyway, then use a deep well. But if you can avoid an extension, like if things are tighter, don't use an extension. Like I said, you lose torque. With the electric tools and with impacts and stuff like that anyway. Hand tools, you don't really lose torque, but you do have more flex because that extension will twist. Did you turn the fuel off on this?
Yes.
Okay. So now we need to disconnect the fuel. This, being a 1979, does not have a fuel gauge, nor does it have a fuel light. So
Just wait till one of the cylinders drops.
We don't have to worry about a float, a fuel tank sending unit for float, and any of that. But we do have to worry about fuel line. And yes, that is not the right fuel line for motorcycles. It works just fine, but it's a bit on the thick side. There we go. Okay, fuel line is disconnected.
Still got
So
two
what?
bolts. You still got two
Oh,
bolts.
that's right. That's right. This doesn't. Most motorcycles, it just slips onto some rubber isolators in the front. This motorcycle does not. It is bolted in the front. You don't want to lose your rubber isolators. They are kind of important. Now it should come off like so. Boy, you're pretty low on fuel.
Yeah.
It's only like a gallon in here. Maybe 2.
No, it's more like half a gallon.
No, there's more than that in there.
Unless I get really good fuel mileage. Because, I mean, I can typically get about 100 miles out of, 120 miles out of a tank.
Is that before you switch it to reserve?
Typically it's about 80 miles before switching to reserve, 80, 85.
Little bitty tanks. What a pain.
It's only a 3-gallon.
Okay. Now that we have those off, we need to pull our side covers off.
Pull
You
the
gotta
bottom.
be careful with these.
Yep.
You gotta pull from the bottom, just kind of work it, because you don't want to break these little dongers off of here. It engages into this rubber. Don't lubricate these rubbers because it's friction fit on these, and if you lubricate them, they can come off. You don't want that. So take this. We'll set it over here. We will be getting back to the Yamaha brakes, and then we're going to move on to rebuilding the fork seals. The fork seals have come in, but not right now. I still got to pop this. I haven't had a chance to pop the piston out of the caliper.
I am already missing the rubber isolator on that side. But
So, where did the rubber isolator go?
ground, don't know where.
Man, Cameraman Jerry, what are we gonna do with you?
I don't know.
This one's degrading. We're gonna have to get some new ones. But maybe I can 3D print some in TPU. That'd be kind of cool.
I thought you could. I thought you hated TPU.
It's extremely difficult to print with. Not that I hate it, it's just difficult to print with. Okay, so now we've opened it up. Now our next step is going to be pulling these carburetors. Now we've spoke about this before, for those of you that are new to this channel and you haven't looked at the other videos. We have two different types of screwdrivers in here. Both of these look like Phillips. Only one is Phillips, and that's this one. This one right here is called JIS. This one right here is Phillips. That's a number 2 Phillips. This is a number 2 JIS. So the difference is how they engage. You see the Phillips is really pointy. You look at the JIS and it's not. You look at the angle there versus the angle here. The Phillips actually engages much deeper into the fastener than the JIS. You can use a JIS in a Phillips. It actually works better in a Phillips than a Phillips works in a Phillips. But you want to use JIS when you're dealing with Japanese motorcycles. This way you don't round out fasteners. The way you can tell if it's JIS, but really you can just use JIS and Phillips. But if you look at these fasteners, what do you...
There's the little dot there.
Oh, okay. So yeah, if you look at the fasteners, there's going to be a dot. Right, it's right there. That denotes that it's JIS. If you use a Phillips in that, you can make it work. You have to be very careful, but you can make it work. But you want to avoid that. Just because it doesn't engage properly, it can round it out. So somebody has used Phillips on these before, but even when it's partially rounded, the JIS still engages on it pretty good. So I don't know, should we see if we have enough room to unscrew the top of this air box so we can get these boots out further?
It would make it so much easier.
All right, we're going to go on an adventure. I've never taken the top of this airbox off. That's what we're going to do.
So, getting the boots on sucks.
Oh, it's a pain in the cunnilinguals. So we'll take our lovely tie off of here, and then we'll take this tie off of here. We're going on an adventure. Reminds me of an old song when I was a child.
Back in the 1800s.
Yeah, that's it. You're thinking the 1900s?
Just barely.
Before your time. For those of you that don't know, Cameraman Jerry is 17 or 16, somewhere around there. He's almost 17. He's 16. December, he'll be 17. All right, so we have our wiring harness here, which we should be able to just kind of tuck that out of the way there, I think. Oh, we can just... All right, I think we can just tuck this out of the way. We can fight those carburetors out without doing this, but I think this would just be easier. We're tied in too close down there, so we're gonna try and do it without doing that. So we need to take the air filter out, which is right here. We turn that like so. Pop this. And we take our air filter, which is nice and clean. A little bit of blow by, but that's normal.
Yeah, there is a little bit of liquid in there.
Take a look. Down there?
Yeah.
So this motorcycle actually has drains down here. You take the caps off and you drain that. When's the last time you did that?
The last time we worked on it.
Okay, so you got a few miles on it without draining.
Just a couple.
All right.
I didn't think about it.
Yeah, well, as long as they don't suck it into the air filter, it's okay. Okay, so now we have a lot of fasteners here. I really don't want to use a Manuel JIS driver, so we're going to grab, this is a JIS bit. We're going to grab this lovely Ryobi electric screwdriver. I've had this thing for years. Works fantastic. So switch it to reverse, and it's kind of cool because you can do that or that. Take that one. Are we on high speed or low speed? We're on high speed. We got another one right here. Boy, they really hit that one, didn't they? Okay, we'll have to come back to that one. Take that one. Are there any back here? There is. Okay. Grab another thing here. Okay. I think we should pop your CDI box. Just kind of flop it up out of the way. What do you think?
Yeah, probably. Should be a 10.
It's a 10. Now, if you find a ground wire attached anywhere, go ahead and clean it up and reattach it. So we're going to need to clean that up. It's got some corrosion on there. And then we'll use some dielectric grease to make sure it doesn't do that again. Okay. Now, most people, they're probably going to want to separate out these fasteners. I don't. I don't separate them out. It's just, I'm weird that way. Okay, so we have, there's our CDI wires. So it connects pink to pink, black, white tracer, black, white tracer, and yellow to yellow. Now this is a true CDI. What a lot of people call CDI is actually TCI because they're transistor controlled. CDI is capacitor discharge ignition. And charges up capacitors, capacitors discharge, and that fires the ignition coils. Okay, so those are disconnected. So we have that holding the airbox on. Will the airbox just pop right out?
In theory. But I think, yeah, this is connected right here.
And so is that. That'll be fun.